read something the other day that inspired, I guess, the material for this vlog. In one of the scriptures, I think it was our Vedic Christian class on Thursday nights, where the scripture was talking about how, behave yourself or God will go away from you or God will withdraw from you. And sometimes in the writings of even some of the mystics and some of the saints, we get that kind of talk that God has pulled away or God is withholding himself from you. And I've done a lot of thinking in that regard, because I thought, what an oddity, what a strange thing to say, because, even in the Christian scriptures, it tells us that the divine is omnipresent, everywhere present. And there's many stories in the Sufi scriptures, like the saint that was sitting with his feet pointed toward the shrine. And someone came in and scolded him, for having his feet facing God and how disrespectful that was. And he said, please place my feet in a direction that won't be facing God so that I won't be in a wrong state. Of course, his point being that God, the divine, is everywhere present. And so it's impossible for God to withdraw from you. You are his very own. That final goal of the Advaita Vedantas that says Tattvamasi, thou art that. You are the divine. You are a manifestation of that divinity. So how can you separate that from yourself? So there's a few things that I've kind of collected in my own mind for my reassurance and my evidence that God is always with me. And that when that feeling of departure is there, when it feels like God has gone away or God is somewhere or pulling back from me out of punishment, really that's never the case, but that's just a manner of speaking. What has happened is that we've entered a state of mind that's egoistic, and egoism causes a boundary, causes a veil, as it were, that separates us from God, and we can't appreciate that closeness, that intimacy, but it's because of our own mind, feeling guilty or feeling shame or just being distracted or just being overly involved in a personal egoistic pursuit, so that we forget God or we become uninterested in the divine or we become absent-minded about the presence. And those are all different states of why we think we're separate from God. But the fact is manifold. One, this world is not a material world, that we live in a world that's made of mind, made of dream, as it were. And so nothing that's presenting as it is as it is. Everything is just a shape for a short period of time before it takes another shape and becomes something else entirely. And so why is that a big deal? Well, to me, that means I inhabit a dream. And if you're inhabiting a dream, it's God's dream in the universal mind, as it were. And in that dream, only this moment is real, right? There's no past, there's no future. You can't show me either of those. Those are concepts of mind. And so this presence is the I am. This moment is God, all right? So that is a demonstration. There's no way to withdraw yourself from the moment. You would cease to exist. And we know that, the last three things we can say about the divine before we actually dissolve into that unity, that one without a second, that singularity, is that God's nature is love, wisdom, and being. So as long as you are able to feel or express love, as long as you are able to grow in or express wisdom, as long as you exist, you can know you have at least 3 love letters from the beloved, assuring you of her presence with you. And the other one is that if we are in a dream, we're in an airtight mind. So the air that you're breathing is God. And in the same way that the divine in the story in the Christian Bible of Genesis, where God creates Adam, but the body is lifeless. It's just a material thing laying there, unactivated, as it were. And God breathes into Adam's nostrils that life, of that breath of life that gave him, presumably gave him life, brought the body to life. And so I really see that in each moment, God is doing that. Every time you inhale, that is God breathing into you another breath of life that gives you many more moments or ability to experience at least the moment that you're in. And there's another love letter from God. Every in-breath is an assurance that God is aware of your life, aware of your presence, and is breathing His presence, His life into you for you to enjoy and to express that divine nature of yours in this world. And that is another love letter from the divine. And then really, if you go on thinking in that way and staying present with the beloved, staying aware of the presence of a divine love within you, a divine wisdom within you, then little by little the dream itself becomes a pointer of that relationship, that love of the divine. For love and the divine are one, and without love we would not exist. Love is that only motivating force in the universe. So just some thoughts about a reassurance that you are always in the compassionate view of the divine. And that divine can look any way that you think it looks. You know, it's not necessarily an old man in the sky. It's not necessarily a young woman in the sky. It's not necessarily anybody in the sky or anything separate from us. It's the very existence that we experience. It's the ability to see beauty, the ability to love one another, the ability to grow in wisdom, to be able to change from our faults so that we're constantly moving from a lower truth to a higher truth, not from wrong to right, as Vivekananda says. So take some assurance. If you exist, God is with you. If you love, God is with you. No matter what you do or think you're doing, God is with you. It is an impossibility for God to separate himself, herself, that self from you. So take hold of that. Trust in grace, go inward, and touch that divinity that is your very own.